Hello, Steve Burns here again. So let's actually apply some modeling techniques to Maya. Something simple, in fact, something different. So far we've been talking about creating more polys and extruding those polys. Now we're going to talk about using the lathe tool or Revolve tool. We're going to make a glass, okay? So let's go into Bridge. I'm going to go up here and open Bridge, and I'm going to share with you the files that I've already organized in my folder. So we talked about organizing all your files as images and scenes and put them into a central folder under the name of your project. So I'm going to go to my desktop here, and I have a central folder called Maya Projects here. Inside those project folders, I have my individual projects, my hammer, a katana, a wine glass. I'm going to double click on the wine glass. Inside of here, I have my images and my scenes. Okay, so I'm going to double click on the images to open it up, and I'm going to go ahead and enlarge this a little bit more. All right, and you get to see some of the various images. And I basically went to the internet and looked at some images or templates for wine glass. I basically chose this one here, and I decided just to split it up in two and utilize this one as my wine glass. And we're going to actually model this wine glass, and we're going to use a technique called Revolve once again. Now, once I have it, I saved it as a JPEG. So, organizing your files this way, that way it's going to help you to remember where things are at all times. You should never be confused about where you put your images, where you put your scene files, where you put your models. They should always be in a central project folder. Under a main project folder will be individual projects, as I have listed here. I find that's a pretty good way to organize things. All right, now we know where we're going to get our image, so let's actually go back into Maya and let's create what's called an image plane. And what this is going to do is it's going to help us to create a reference in which we're going to model our glass. So let's go ahead and use our front view here and hit the space bar with my cursor sitting on top of it. That way it's going to fill the screen, and that's actually creating an image. You're going to be able to accomplish that by going to your view menu right in your image plane here, top left hand corner where all your menus are located. Go to your view menu, come down toward the bottom, second from the last, target your image plane, come over to your right and import an image. And for all of your planes, you're going to do this. Now, in this example, I'm only going to need this one. All right, now, where am I going to get the folder here? All right, let's go to my desktop, and inside my Maya projects, wine glass, images, there they are. So I want this one here. Double click it. There it is. It's open. Now, let's go ahead and hit the A key to commit that to view. And let's go hit the space bar so I can see all views. Now, let's go ahead and hit Shift F to zoom in on this object. So what we have is a plane, a 3D plane with an image on it. Okay, so I can move around it, see both sides. I can also move it around. So this is a 3D plane, and we will use this as a reference. This is going to be very, very handy. All right, so let's use another tool, and which we're going to actually outline the glass to utilize our Revolve command. However, on the right-hand side, under our Attributes Editor, we have an image plane, and the image plane has image plane attributes. This is going to allow us to make adjustments to our gain, alpha gain, or color offset. For example, if I play with the color gain, I'm playing around with the density or of the piece. So sometimes the tools, when they create outlines, like in this case, I'm going to be using a spline tool. Maybe this brighter color back here is going to compete with it. Let's see, if I go over here to alpha gain, right, I'm flattening it out, or actually not flattening out, but creating a transparency around it. So I can bring it down a little bit, so that's going to allow me to have a better view of how I'm going to apply my particular shape. Alright, now, before we've been working in poly modeling. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to go over the curves and surfaces. Right here to the left hand side, the tab, target curves and surfaces. And I'm going to get the Bezier tool. Now this is the same Bezier tool that you work in Photoshop and Illustrator. So if you are used to working with the Bezier tool or the pen tool in those two programs, it's going to be exactly the same here. However, I'm going to select this one to the far right. So right in here we have our basic shapes, a couple of primitives, and various option styles, and you can explore these on your own. But the one I would like you guys to use is the one right here, just to the right of this vertical slash. So it's the last one in this particular set. If I click it, I'm ready to start laying down a path. Now let's go ahead and fill the screen with the front view here. Hit the spacebar key on the keyboard, and I'm going to zoom in, pull it up, and I believe what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here, right in the middle of the glass. So this particular vertical line is our 0 coordinate. So, and I'm looking at the glass, and you can see we have some thickness of the glass. This is going to be the base right about there. So I'm going to tap down there to lay down a point, just like in Illustrator and Photoshop. A right click and an alt right click, moving on over. I'm looking at the curvature of the glass. The curvature starts here. It starts to subside right about, I would say right about here. Click and hold and trace that curve in front of me. And look, the one that falls right in place, okay? So the idea here is to make sure that these handlebars are going to flow with the shape. All right, let's bring it on down this way. We have another curve that starts here. It subsides right about there. And click and hold, trace the shape in front of me, and then the back end is going to fall right into place, approximately. If I went too far out, I can take my cursor, highlight that point, and I can move this around. So I'm going to pull it down right about there. Go grab the handlebar, but make sure it's highlighted before you play with it. That's the other handlebar. I'm going to click this one here and kind of adjust to pull it up a little bit more like so. Making sure that the front handlebar is flowing with the glass. Alright, curve starts here, and I'm going to click and place it there. Let's get in a little closer. Alright, now I'm going to put a point here, create the lip of the glass, another point there, to complete the lip of the glass right on the edge, and then we're going to follow this back end back down. I'm tempted to go right about there, click and hold and drag so that I can match the shape right behind there. See that? Alright, let's go around. There we are. That seems to work pretty well. I'm going to bring this out a little bit. There we go. Pull this one all the way over. I clicked a little bit too soon, but that's okay, because I can grab that handlebar and adjust that curve. I can give it more slack or take up slack as I bring it in closer to the point. So just play with this. Alright, now I'm going to come right down over here. Have a curve that starts here, ends right about here, click and hold and drag, and that pretty much went into place. If I pull this up, that seems to work pretty well. Alright, making sure the handlebar is flowing with the shape once again. Alright, let's bring this on down. And I think what I'll do is I'll pull that back a little bit more and click and hold, drag a little bit to get that shape to fit in the back. That looks good. Now we have this shape to outline. The curve starts here. It subsides. This particular curve subsides right about there. Click and hold and drag it, and there you have it. It doesn't have to be totally perfect. I can bring that on up if I need to, bring it on back. That's probably wiser to do right about there. Putting another point right into here. I kind of Messed that one up a little bit, but pull this on down. I think that works better this way. Now, let's go ahead and create our loop here. There it is. Now, come to the edge right there. Okay. So, if we take a look at it, let's pull back. I have a shape. It starts 0 and ends at the 0 coordinate. This is a little funky up in here, so I'm going to get in a little closer. This is not as accurate as I would like it to be. I'm going to click on this one, probably pull it in like so. That's better. Okay, that'll work. Make sure this point as well is right on that 0 coordinate, or close to it. There we go. I'm going to straighten that out because that's going to be the flat part of the glass in the base. And if I want to make adjustments here more, I can pull this on in. There we are. That works quite nice. Alright, let's go hit the A key. Now we're going to revolve this. We're going to take this shape and we're going to lathe it around, okay? Alright, now I'm going to hit the Q key just to go to the arrow tool. You can see my entire shape has been selected there. Now take note that if let's go back to our 4 view here. We now have right over here under our outliner display. Now if you don't have this open here, is this little button here. I can turn it off or turn it on. So in class, I think with the old Maya version, this was off by default. But if you come right down here and hit this little button, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is basically your viewing buttons. Hit that. That display shows up, and you get to see your image plane if you want to make adjustments to your image plane. In terms of moving it around. So if I hit the move tool, you can see your 3D widget display come on. I don't want to make any adjustments here, but I want you to be aware that that is a 3D object and we can manipulate it and move it like any standard, rotate it as well, like any standard 3D object. If I want to access my Bezier that I've just created, I simply click on Bezier. The rest is your cameras and so forth. We're not going to get into that part just yet. All right, so it's a basic shape for the glass. It's not perfect by any means, but what we're going to do is we're going to make it create a lathe here. Let's go ahead to the perspective view. Hit the A key to fit all in the view, and I might just kind of zoom in a little bit. There we go. All right, so there is my subject. Go ahead, hit the Q key. Okay. All right, you can see my spline is right on the 0, 0 axis. And that's going to be important because as we come over here to our surfaces, you're going to see revolve, which is the third one down, because we're going to create a surface. All right. Hit this little checkbox right over here, and you're going to get the revolve options panel. Now, what axis do we want to revolve around? It's going to be that y-axis. So I'm going to make sure that's targeted here in the top. Right below that, we want to make sure that this is going to be an object, and the surface is going to be cubic by nature. Also, your sweeping angle, your start sweep angle, and your end sweep angle, you want a 360-degree lathe. So it's going to start here, 360-degree circle, and stop where it began. Now I get to decide how many segments to give it. I've played around with this before. I think 30 is too little. Let's go ahead and give it 60. And then I'm going to make sure that I want to create polygons, not NURBS, not a Bezier or partial. Let's create polygons. Make sure that's targeted. And finally, by default, it's giving you triangles. So in other words, you want to, when you create the shape in the lathe, it's asking you, do you want all things to be a triangular, a 3-point polygon, or do we want to use a 4-point polygon, which is called quads? We always want to use quads. Let's make that a standard. Now, if we simply hit revolve, There it is. So right now the polys are flipped. So you're looking at them from the inside out. All right. So to change that, you're going to go to your surfaces, and what you're going to do is under the surfaces, you're going to flip those surfaces or invert the surfaces. All right, so I've been over here on the surfaces. That's my mistake. I want to be right over here under mesh display. There's your reverse command. In my opinion, it really should be over here in the surfaces because we're making modifications to the surfaces. But under mesh display, we want to display the opposite of what we're seeing. We're seeing the inside out. So we're going to target reverse, and there it is. Okay, let's rotate it around. There's our glass. Now our glasses, I did 60 options here for 60 divisions. I actually want more, don't I? I want to get a nice little smooth glass. So let's undo. I'm hitting Command Z several times. Let me hit it again, and there we are. Let's go back to our surfaces. Let's go find our revolve. All right. By default, you can see here, I just hit the revolve button. It put triangles in there, and it inverts the surface. All right. I don't want that. So it's always a good idea to go to your properties panel for this. So if I go back to my surfaces again, go to revolve, hit that little checkbox there. That'll bring up the option so that you tell it to be on the Y, which is by default. 360 degrees is by default. The segment is what I used last time. So let's go 120. Let's go to 240. All right, that's actually giving it a lot more. All right, we want 240, 24 segments. Let's see. Can I do 240? All right, let's pull that. There we go. It's giving me a limitation here. Let's pull this down. All right. That's really interesting. We'll go with 24 segments for now, but right now we want to make sure that we have polygons targeted. I want to scroll this down. There it is. And okay, I think everything looks pretty good. We got 24 segments. Let's go ahead and hit the revolve. Oops, that's interesting. I wonder what happened there. We're still getting the triangles. All right, I'm going to go back. All right, so I'm going to give it the highest segments of 100 and then polygons. And what I forgot to do was to come over here and uncheck the triangles and give it quads. By targeting quads, it automatically unchecks the triangles. All right, let's go ahead and hit the revolve command. Okay, all right, we'll go with this one here. Let's go ahead and flip this one. All right, so instead of go to mesh display, go hit our reverse, and there it is. Okay, so that's your basic tutorial for creating a cup or wine glasses or simple glasses. Practice with this. You know, create a file or get an image off the internet, any shape that you want. Maybe a very interesting looking vase that's going to be fairly symmetrical, and then apply this particular technique.